Good evening, guys, and welcome to Breakdown. Tonight we are doing a special episode for you guys, where we are going to discuss the man, the legend, and the myths that all came under one Mark Calloway, the Undertaker. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to send them in via our app, or you can send them in via Twitter at LevelerLOW. A little bit of history. Obviously, we all know the Undertaker as he is now, almost the retired Undertaker, so to say, or the literal dead man, as I've seen people refer to him as. But Undertaker obviously has been around since about 1991. So, as a wrestler, Undertaker has been in the WWE, as quite prominently one of the longest roster members going. Although he doesn't wrestle every single year for a long amount of time, you're still seeing him every year in some fashion or other. So we want to give you a bit of an understanding as to what it was that made The Undertaker so prominent in WWE's feature. And joining me tonight, guys, of course, we've got Paul. How you doing, Paul?
Hi. Unlike the Undertaker, I am not the dead man. So, I,
And more
I, I am
importantly, you
more,
show up every week.
well, most every week. I
Well,
don't run a
that's
Santa,
close enough.
I don't run the Santa Claus schedule like he does nowadays, but
And sure as hell we're not paying you the same amount.
not yet. Not that you know of.
Yeah, what?
I'm skimming off the top. Don't you worry about
Man, I'm taking that PayPal account down.
it.
Um, I mean, what do you feel, you know, Undertaker's debut? Did you believe
Yes.
fully when you first saw him that he was going to take off?
Well, I watched it live. I remember watching that Survivor Series live because I'm fucking old. And and it took me a little bit to go, holy shit, that's Mean Mark from WCW, because I was a big WCW fan back then, and so I recognized him a little bit farther down the line. So I was like, oh my god, I know this guy, and it took me a little bit to realize who Paul Bearer was too. He was Percy Prinkle from Memphis, because I used to watch a lot of Memphis too when I was a kid. Yeah, there was no way that this should have worked. He's an undead zombie that's come to wrestle. That was it. He barely spoke. He did chokes and punches and a really sloppy tombstone. Yeah, there was no way that should have worked. But on his debut, those announcers, it was who was it? It was Gorilla and Roddy Piper, I want to say. They put him over so good. If it would have been the announced team nowadays, that gimmick would have flopped.
Oh, that would have been
Um,
awful now. Can you imagine Michael Cole try to sell that with JBL at ringside?
oh, they would have barely talked about it, and those two were just all over it. That there's a chill over the arena, and that was always the big thing. How everybody on the announced team, no matter who it was, always put that over. Yeah, there was just no way that they're looking at that gimmick on paper that you go, oh yeah, this is gonna work. This is gonna make money. This guy's gonna be around in 25 years. Yeah,
Well,
no way.
see, to me, like, this is where I could show my age. I was born the same year Undertaker debuted. Although I didn't see it live, I've seen the tapes. Maybe it's just because I didn't see it live, but personally, I see that debut and I go, "Wow, this is awful." Like you said, the commentators kind of sell it well, but they never made it seem dramatic enough to make him seem like a long character. Like he didn't seem like he was going to be there long. He seemed like he would be there almost as long as the zombie from ECW. I mean,
Oh Jesus.
yeah, if you look at the comparison though, the characters are almost the same at debut. Like Taker didn't say anything.
Yeah,
He moved slowly,
no,
and he no persona.
no. Wait, did he come out with Paul? No, he didn't even come out with Paul Bearer
No, he
on his
didn't.
debut,
It
right? He came out with Brother
was,
Love. Yeah,
yep.
yeah, it was Brother Love. Right. Yeah, it took him a few weeks to get Bear, and then for like I remember a week or two somewhere in there they called him Kane the Undertaker, and that got dropped really quick, and then
That
picked
got
up later
dropped
down the
so
line.
quick.
Yeah, but it's funny that I still remember that though. It just kind of scared me because it reminded me of the bad guy in Poltergeist 2. His name was Kane, and he used to scare the crap out of me when I used to walk to school. I used to run because I always thought that he was chasing after me. But that's a story for another day.
He used to think he was. He was. There's no thinking.
I I think he might have been.
He was in the bushes. He knew.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the Undertaker was like, oh, it's so obscure to think that this character that, as we've said, was like a zombie, a dead man, could get over. You know, in today's society, this character wouldn't have done anything. So what was it do you think made him stick around at that age? Because I mean, for me, it was
Um,
tough.
well, it was a different era, of course. I mean, everything was larger than life and colorful and big, and he was that and then some. Where everything was neon and hammer pants and and bright and loud. He was huge and dark and menacing, and it was something that we really hadn't seen before. And he was just the ultimate heel. He didn't feel anything. You couldn't hurt him. And that's what really made him work. That has to all go to Taker himself for just owning that character. Because you watch some of those matches and they're fucking dog shit. I mean, he really didn't learn to. They are unwatchable. Where everybody thinks that nowadays, you see Taker on a card, okay, that's going to be a great match. It took a good 10 years before you went, you know what? There's an Undertaker match. It's probably going to be good. It took him a long time to get decent, and those matches were dog shit. Chokes, punches, old school tombstone. That was really it, and a whole lot of no selling.
That sounds a lot like people nowadays that folk complain about, though, which I find really interesting. Like, I'm not
It's
gonna say like Cena, Rock, Austin, Reigns. There's a lot of those guys now that they no sell and then do three or four moves and then that's it. Match is over. So what's the difference between then and now? Like, why did Taker get so over and we can't now? Because for me, I can't fathom it. I kind of see
because
Taker as like he is the guy to follow. If you're gonna make a character, you follow Taker's path.
because he was a zombie. That's why. He had Paul Bear and he had the urn.
Oh God,
And
the magical urn.
yeah,
Like, the one thing that fans should have been like, nope, nope, no powers, nope, not real.
no, no, it worked. We all believed it. You look at those crowds, and everyone believed it. And it just is a work of genius and luck. It is, I guarantee you, it is 85% luck, 15% genius.
It's not even like all that luck. It's just for the life of me, I honestly can't fathom it. Because Taker came around in a time where everything was changing.
Hmm.
Like everything was becoming, going from the golden age into the new generation, if you want. And as you said, he was the complete opposite to what they had. He wasn't going to
Yeah,
be what looked like a company guy. And Vince apparently phoned Mark Calloway and said, will you be my Undertaker? When someone phones me and says, will you be my Undertaker? The last thing I'm thinking is, this gimmick is going to get over.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely. I mean, yeah, yeah.
sounds
There's
more
no way
like
it should have.
a manager.
Yep, no way it
Like,
should have.
could you imagine, honestly, like, if you'd had, say, I don't know, Kane, because obviously you can have Kane without the Undertaker. Like, you have Kane to go out there and you destroy someone, and then Undertaker removes the body, so to say, like they did for a while with the body bags,
Hmm.
which to me was terrifying. That is a great moment for Undertaker.
Hmm. Yep, that was great. That was good stuff. And kind of overlooked, and he had body bag matches and things like that, and those were awesome.
No,
The
I
other one,
honestly wish those had stuck around.
in this day and age, people are way too sensitive. So,
Yeah, because caskets didn't affect anyone at all.
no, that's more of a, well, there's a big difference between a casket and a body bag.
Yeah, one's usually taken to the coroner, and the other one's after the coroner.
Right. Big
And
difference.
Yeah, oh yeah, huge difference. One's made of wood, one's made of plastic.
Right.
Honestly, I would love to think that, had Undertaker debuted this year, for instance, um, the crowd would have just been like, "Oh, he's so terrifying. Oh, whatever will we do?" He would have been buried so quickly. Um, and it,
Well, it really depends. It really depends. Like if he was someone that had run Ring of Honor for 8 years,
oh
then everyone
gosh,
would go, "Oh my God, this guy's a fucking genius. Oh, it's gonna work. We love it." So
and then
yeah,
Vince
it
would have
would have
gone,
worked.
"Hey, we're gonna make you like the zombie from ECW,"
Yeah.
and that's where the
Here,
whole thing would have tumbled.
here, Baron Corbin, you're our Undertaker. Boo!
Oh, don't even tease that.
That's that's what would happen.
NXT fan 916 says it was also due to the era that Taker got over. It was a different gimmick, and he gave
Absolutely.
it his all. I would
Agree
definitely
a
say,
thousand percent.
I would definitely say Mark Calloway giving it his all was like one of the top things as well. Like he is one of the most underrated performers, like acting wise ever. Like
Yeah, that gimmick does not work without him. You slap that on anybody else, and probably anybody else in wrestling history, it doesn't work.
like can you even imagine what that would be like? Say, oh god, someone like Big Show had been given that gimmick. Like that would have been awful. Yeah, you shaking your boot
Um, uh, yeah, he has the
somewhere.
size. A young Big Show could have possibly made it work, but he was a little bit too cartoony though. I mean, you look at old Undertaker, there was no emotion whatsoever, just nothing. You got nothing out of this guy, and it was unbelievable.
Oh, I questioned if that's because Undertaker genuinely didn't know what to do with the character. He just thought no reaction's better than
Uh,
nothing.
maybe some of that, maybe a little something else. But yeah, I mean, just no emotion whatsoever.
Obviously, we can't.
One guy could make that work. One guy can make that work nowadays. That's Curtis Axel because he has no emotion. So he could have made that work.
Wow,
I don't like Curtis Axel.
we could
I don't
tell.
like him.
We know. Um, obviously, we can't talk about the Undertaker without mentioning Kane, because without Undertaker, there wouldn't be a Kane, and there certainly wouldn't have been a Paul Bearer character. Um, what's like your favorite early Undertaker memory with these guys? Like, obviously, the main one for me would be Kane ripping the door of Hell in a Cell, and those two just going face to face.
Yeah, absolutely. If we're just talking about Kane and Undertaker, yeah, that's definitely up there. And then the whole lead up to their first match was just unbelievable. It was like something that we hadn't seen before. It was just Paul Bearer and Kane taunting Undertaker, baiting him into this fight, and Taker just staunchly going, "No, I'm not going to fight my own brother." Until it just became too much and came to a head, and eventually it had to go down, and it was beautiful, and the fans just blew up over it. Yeah, it was such a great build to such a corny gimmick that everyone forgets. You forget that when Kane came out, he was, he had that goofy unitard outfit on, and he looked like a unitard, and it was just so hokey and terrible with the backstory, but it didn't matter. This was like Attitude Era, and we still bought into it. So the Kane character that works. That's just as amazing to get over as Undertaker.
You see, I think a lot of people tend to forget Undertaker before this because, as we've said, the matches weren't always great and the character wasn't always there. So, to a lot of people, Kane and Undertaker, like, that's when they started together. Like, that was it. I think it's really unusual for fans to think, well, for 6 years, he was just building himself up, and then, oh, there's Kane. Wow. Who's this other guy?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, there's two of them.
yeah. People forget that like he'd main evented WrestleManias. He'd been a world champion. He beat Hulk Hogan for the title.
Yeah,
Uh,
Undertaker is the only man to have beat Hulk Hogan 3 times for that title.
yep. There you go.
He is the only one to do it. I
Yeah,
would.
it was unbelievable. I mean, that he went from debut to world champion in a year. That was something that didn't happen a whole lot there.
I think, like you said, it wasn't something that happened a lot, but he was definitely one of those guys that was. It's hard to explain. He was one of those guys that just stood out for whatever reason, and I think height may have been
Yeah,
something
he was
to do with it.
special.
Yeah, he was. Just his natural physique, his look, everything about him made him stick out. I mean, yes, he was a basketball
And the
player
funeral
before he was a wrestler. Oh yeah, the funeral parlor.
and as much as yeah, the funeral parlor that got him over just as much. I mean, he didn't have to say a word. I mean, some of those vignettes, those hold up nowadays, where you just have Paul Bear talking and you have Taker in the background building a casket. Those are some of my favorite memories of him. When he slammed Ultimate Warrior's hand into the casket, that is one of my absolute favorite wrestling memories of all time. I mean, that freaked me out. You know, watching that Superstars on a Saturday morning and seeing Warrior get fucked up like that. It was great.
And see that's one of the amazing things as well. I think people forget that wrestling at that time was on a Saturday morning, and there was a lot of it aimed at kids. So Undertaker was terrifying because he was everything that the stars weren't.
Yeah,
Like,
he was 11 years old, and it was like, wow, this guy's fucking scary.
oh yeah. I mean, could you honestly imagine what that would be like? Well, you were there. Um, could you imagine what it was like being like a kid watching this big figure come out live and just thinking, "Oh my God." Like after all the debuts and everything you'd heard them say on the mic during commentary saying there was like a chill in the air. Something like that. When someone implants that idea that there's a chill in the air and you see that live, that's gonna come over you as a kid. Like you'll feel that chill.
Yeah, you feel that.
Even wrestlers now talk about
Yep,
feeling that when
absolutely.
he comes there. Interesting fact about the
Yeah,
Undertaker. Sorry, on you go. I'll let you talk first.
yeah, go ahead. Nope, nope, go ahead. Nope, go ahead.
Interesting fact about the Undertaker, and definitely one of your favorite stars. The first championship the Undertaker ever won actually came at the expense of Jerry the King Lawler. April 1st, April Fool's Day, in 1989, as the Master of Pain, he actually won his first professional wrestling title, which was the USWA Unified World Heavyweight Championship. So he was even a champion before he came to WWF.
I did not know that.
He did. And then, if you want to go for his second title, it was October 5th, and he won the WCWA Texas Heavyweight Championship by way of forfeit. So that's when he started becoming a heel as well.
Yes.
So
Um.
Jerry Lawler was a
Uh,
huge part of Taker's career to begin with.
yeah, I don't remember seeing him a lot in Memphis though. So that's kind of yeah. That's not in my wheelhouse. WCW, yes, but yeah.
Oh, of course. Tell you, recently, obviously in recent years, Undertaker has came back to his kind of roots in some ways. He doesn't say anything, or he doesn't say much, but when he does, everyone listens. There was a time where the Undertaker wasn't really like that, and that's what I like to call Undertaker's midlife crisis. I think a lot of people see the American Badass as like a failed gimmick. It worked for a little while, and then people
No,
got sick of it real quick.
I loved it.
I'm going to be really honest. A
Honestly,
lot of I think a lot of people
that's
would
my favorite
dislike me.
incarnation.
Yes, thank you. A lot of people would dislike me for this. American Badass Undertaker was the greatest part of 2001 to 2004. Like, honestly, without
Yeah,
American Badass Undertaker, so many stars wouldn't have got over.
and that's when he learned to work.
He
You
learned
look at
to
that
cut a
period,
good
and that's
promo.
when and he learned how to cut a promo. He learned how to emote in the ring, and he learned how to work. You look at those matches, and they're just light years ahead of what he was doing but before he, transformed his gimmick. Yeah, that's when he really became the Undertaker that we see nowadays, where the work rate went up. He understood what to do and when. He started to sell, which that goes, that can go anywhere. That can take your match to either an F or an A.
And to me, like the debut or the re-debut of the Undertaker as the American Badass at Judgment Day 2000, that's actually one of the like one of my fondest memories of wrestling, just because I remember watching like my first ever Iron Man match as a kid. And I saw like Rock and Triple H go at it, and there was such a screw job at the end where it was like all of DX and the McMahons got involved, and then all of a sudden he's here. Like those three little girls, whatever reason they were there for, saying he's here and bringing in the Undertaker on a motorbike, who I had no idea was the Undertaker at the time. I had really, at that point, not a lot of knowledge on the Undertaker because I'd only watched for a few years. But I remember being absolutely stunned at this re-debut. Like he looked like a badass, regardless of what people say. Like he
Yeah,
was huge.
it yeah, it took a second to go, holy shit, that's the Undertaker, and he's on a fucking motorcycle. That's awesome.
Like
and,
I
and,
honestly
and,
don't know
and
where the name American Badass came from, but that is exactly what he looked like.
that came from the Kid Rock song.
Was it actually from the Kid Rock song, or did
Yeah,
they just
yeah, because
use the two together?
that came from this. He heard that and then went, "Oh, geez, I like that. I'm going to use it as my song too."
It,
So,
it wouldn't surprise me. I'm not going to deny whether he did or didn't, because who knows. But
well, they've built basically a whole gimmick of Randy Orton around a song. So hearing voices in his head, that has nothing to do with his gimmick, but it says it in the song, so it's got to be true.
okay, that's a story for a different time. We'll get into theme music next week,
Yeah, I win.
because then my dissertation will be finished and we're all good. We can talk about this. Um, to me though, American Badass Undertaker, like when people talk about like their favorite moments and favorite matches with Undertaker, one of my favorite matches with Taker, although it's not deemed as one of his greatest matches. One of the best storytelling matches he ever done was as the American Badass. One of the best feuds he ever did was the American Badass, because he purposely made sure that Brock Lesnar got over as a star. We wouldn't have Brock Lesnar as the star he is now without the Undertaker.
Their Hell in a Cell match is one of my top three favorite Undertaker matches. Absolutely love it.
Their Hell in the Cell match, I actually still struggle to watch a little bit. Like, there's brutality in a match, and it is god awful how much they do to each other. Like the cast
Yep.
thing, I could deal without. There was no need for the cast, but it worked for Brock. I think that's the
Yep.
important thing.
That was more the lead up to it, and that really added to that. And didn't and Paul Heyman, he even blades during that match. Everybody
Oh
fucking
yeah,
was
he does.
bleeding in it.
Because
Yeah,
Taker
it's a
punched him through the
terrific.
cage.
It's such a terrific, brutal match that meant so much to both of those guys, and the build up to it was so good, and it was such an ultimate payoff for something that you really never thought that the build was so personal to this that you think that you're going to be disappointed, that there's no way that this match can live up to it. That match is exactly what the Hell in a Cell is for. It's not just a stop every year on the calendar where you build something around it. No, this built to it. And that's something that is severely lacking in today's product.
I think a lot of today's product could probably do with the heart that the Undertaker brought to it as well. Because, like we've said already, I mean, Mark Calloway kind of gives 150% of his being to the Undertaker character, and he really wouldn't have done half the stuff he did if it wasn't Mark Calloway. I mean, could you imagine, like we've already said, putting this gimmick on Big Show? That Hell in a Cell would have been awful if that had been Big Show.
Oh, because he can't move.
Yeah, I mean, you go back and you try and replace every Undertaker match with Big Show instead, you've got some awful matches. Like Big Show, Giant Gonzalez, I think I'd rather cut my legs off.
That would probably be about the same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would,
it would.
yeah.
It would have worked exactly the same.
If
but
not,
yeah,
then
that American Badass, that era was when he really learned how to work, and he learned how to throw some of my favorite punches in wrestling. That guy throws the best punches out there right now. That really all stemmed from that gimmick there. Yeah, I mean, without if he would have just stayed, the Deadman Undertaker with a few little tweaks here or there, I mean, are we even talking about him right now?
yeah, I mean, I would watch a relevant under like American Badass easily, and I would love to have thought that he could have came out at WrestleMania 31 against Bray Wyatt as an older Undertaker who's just said, this is me now, respect it. Like,
Well, you can't pull back the curtain too much with him.
yeah, I would love to think at times he could go back, but there's only a certain amount of time that people would believe it. And saying that, if people are going to believe that he's a dead zombie who can shoot lightning from his hands and walk through fire and survive buried alive matches, then who's to say we can't believe he can come back on a motorbike?
Well, who was the one that hated that gimmick? Was it him or Vince?
Vince loathes that gimmick. Like Vince never ever
Okay.
wanted that gimmick.
All
Undertaker,
right, that's what I.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Taker said on several occasions like that was one of his favorite things to ever do because he got to be himself for a while.
Yeah, and he got to do things. I mean, he doesn't have to be Undertaker 24/7. Like if he had that gimmick nowadays, he could go to the Hall of Fame and hang out and do autograph signings and things
Yeah,
like that. He can't do any of that shit now.
like I used to check out like interviews, like some of the behind the scenes interviews and things. And hearing him talk about his matches with Mick Foley, like hearing it come from the Undertaker is like such a bigger thing. Like when
Right.
he
Yeah.
talks,
Oh yeah.
just
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah. Anytime that you get him on a DVD or even on like the Monday Night Wars, you get him on that series. You sit up a little bit. You go, oh shit, they got Undertaker. Because he just has that persona about him, and it even now. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Nobody else has it like him.
Not at all. Um, guys, if you're listening tonight and you like what we're talking about, maybe you've got an Undertaker related story you want to talk about. Send us in something via our app, which you can download on the Google Play Store, or send it in on Twitter, leaving a comment at LevelerLOW. Now, as we've said, the American Badass Undertaker, he had some of the straightest, hardest punches going. And
Still
someone
does.
still does. Someone who brought it up earlier had reminded me of the beating that Maven took at the Royal Rumble. Now I went back
Yes.
and I watched this again. What a way to get brought into a company by the guy that everyone respects beating the shit into you. Like I've never watched a beating on tape so bad where I thought, wow, he's gonna be really sore tomorrow. Like
Yeah,
Brock
he straight fucked him up. That's it.
like Brock versus um, Taker in Hell in a Cell is bad. Like, it's a great match. It's bloody. It's brutal. That's fine. Watching Taker manhandle Maven the way he did is like how much of this is real, how much of this is fake. We're never really gonna know. But Maven looked
Yeah,
shocked at how hard he was being hit.
yeah, that's like watching a kid get their ass whooped by their parent. That's what that is.
Like,
And maybe and that gimmick should have made him right there. And unfortunately it didn't. I mean, because that's not something that he's gonna do for just anybody. He's not gonna get eliminated like that from the Royal Rumble for just anybody like that. So it's too bad that it kind of went for naught.
I remember watching it and thinking, wow, was he meant to do that? I don't know. Like, he's being hit fairly bad. Did he fuck up?
Oh, he was. Oh, he stiffed the shit out of him.
Well, that's why I questioned if it was like if it was meant to happen or not. Has
Yeah,
Undertaker ever
good
won a
on.
Royal Rumble?
Has he ever won a Royal Rumble? Yeah, yeah, cause
Oh, he
he
did,
took on
yes.
Edge. Yep.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'll tell you what. Um, I found another Undertaker story earlier on today that I was very shocked by. Talk about straight hitting and things. During Kurt Angle's autobiography, the It's True book, he talks about Undertaker actually attacking him on a plane on the way back from London. And basically, McMahon had taken Angle down on an episode of Raw the week prior, and McMahon continually kept poking at Angle and taking the piss out of him on this flight. And Angle jokingly put McMahon in a headlock and then into a choke, like just playing around, and wrestled him to the ground. Apparently, the commotion on the plane woke up the Undertaker. Undertaker didn't know who was on top of McMahon and proceeded to choke Kurt Angle out and blacked out for a minute. And apparently, they set up a red flag to anyone who witnessed the stuff happening with Vince because they didn't want it to seem like it was a legit problem between the company members. So Undertaker tapped out Kurt Angle in a plane full of people just
That's
because
awesome.
he thought someone was attacking Vince.
That's awesome. That just shows that he is that company guy. He's always been called the locker room leader. And yeah, that just shows right there that and don't wake up the Undertaker. Those are the lessons to learn. Don't wake that fucking guy up. Christ, why do you think Michelle McCool is so skinny? She wakes him up and then he like keeps her food.
And runs away to the other side of the house again. How tough do you think it must be, though, to be the Undertaker? I mean, for years, like you said, he didn't get to do interviews. He didn't get to do the Hall of Fame. Like, he's
Yeah,
never
it's
even
gotta
there
suck. It
backstage.
Yeah, it's got to be such an alienating feeling where most guys where you're constantly thinking, okay, do the other boys think of me as that I'm better than them? That's why I'm not around, or do they still respect me? Which of course everyone does. But yeah, that gimmick and just that respect in the hands of others probably not going to work. You put that in, say, like a Randy Orton's hands. You put that responsibility in his hands. It's not going to work out as well.
And
So I
that's
mean, it's right gimmick and right guy.
and that's the thing as well. Like every year he comes back to do a WrestleMania, the pressure's on him a little bit more every time he comes back because the fans are always expecting something big, something amazing to happen, and the match needs to be 5 stars for them to be impressed. So he's got a full year of pressure building on him for what to do and how to top his last match. I can't think of any other star in the roster that has that kind of issue.
Oh, and nobody like in wrestling history. I mean, that you expect. Okay, this guy doesn't do anything for a year, blow the dust off, and then come out there and put on a match of the year candidate. About the only guy that could do that is Brock Lesnar.
I
Other than
suppose in
that,
some
I
ways, yeah.
can't think of anybody. Yeah, because I mean, Brock came out of nowhere. However long he was away, and in his first match back, put on one of my favorite John Cena matches of all time. It all he did was
Yeah.
beat the living shit out of him for 20 minutes.
What, the Extreme Rules match?
Yeah, I just watched it.
Oh, great match. I really like that match actually. The elbow 3 minutes in is incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I love the scene as like, oh god, we have to continue, but I'm bleeding.
Uh, yeah, what did I do? Oh, Christ. 8 seconds into the match, he's already cut open twice. So,
Ooh. Uh, Matt Monin underscore Matt says, what about his threat to Shawn at WrestleMania 14? That would have been sweet.
Oh, but the alleged threat about the whole Montreal thing.
I believe it was to do with Austin and losing to
Oh,
Austin, was it not?
okay. Um, yeah. There's quite a few stories out there about Taker doing things like that. They usually revolve around Sean, where it's
Yeah, they
basically
do.
play ball, play ball, do business, or else I'm going to just beat the living shit out of you. So, but again, that's him being that locker room leader. Which do they even have that guy there anymore?
Oh
Is
God,
it Cena?
yeah, I hate to think that, but
I think
yeah,
it's
I guess
probably
it would
him
be.
now.
Although hearing Cena talk in
Yeah.
his interview with Jericho, it sounds like there's quite a few guys in the back that don't like talking to him. So I don't know. I
Well,
mean, is he? I would question if it's
I don't
actually.
know. I mean, it almost seemed like it was Punk there for a little bit, and not by choice. Just because he was a big loudmouth, which Taker obviously isn't. He's definitely not a loudmouth. He's just, the guy that's been there forever and has Vince's ear. So, I mean, maybe it is still Cena because he is one of the guys that has Vince's ear.
I'd possibly still.
Maybe
It's
Orton now that he's grown up a bit.
yeah. I was gonna say maybe Orton. I would maybe say it's still even Taker because obviously although he's not there, he'll still be a contact for a lot of the guys.
Maybe.
Indeed. I mean, oh wow. Apparently, as far as the Shawn Michaels threat goes, Taker apparently had his fists taped up in Gorilla just in case he didn't.
Yeah.
Oh
I've heard all
wow.
those stories, and they're good. They're good. I like that whenever Taker finally retires, that he just kind of comes clean with everything. What a great, couple hours that would be, or even just like a podcast. Have him and Austin. Have Austin do a podcast with him. How awesome would that be?
That would actually be really nice just to hear him say what he needs to say. Just
Yeah, give him
once.
a couple hours.
Well, I
Yep,
believe it was
yep. Just let him
Austin
do it.
said he would do one with Taker, didn't he?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure if anybody's gonna get to do it with him, get to do it with him, it's gonna be Austin. So
Yeah. Undertaker fun fact number three: his least favorite gimmick was the Lord of Darkness. Undertaker did not like doing this just for the fact he was using satanic phrases and ended up being like a cult type leader. He also didn't like that the Ministry of Darkness like fueled and bonded with the corporate ministry.
I completely agree. The best part about that whole gimmick
Don't
was
say
their
it's.
theme music.
Oh, I was gonna say, do not say it's me. It was me, Austin, all along.
No, that's what ruined it. Was that they had such a great build up, and at the height of really the Monday Night Wars, and you're thinking, oh my God, who is this? This has got to be somebody that jumped. This has to be somebody from WCW that has jumped. And for it to be McMahon was just such a letdown. Because I remember that there was talk about it being Bischoff or Hogan or just hundreds of names out there. Sting, his name was even out there. Um, yeah, and for it to be Vince was just such a letdown, and it had just led to the same Austin Vince thing all over again, which had some great moments, absolutely. Having Austin on the symbol,
Oh,
because it wasn't a cross. But
that was easily one of my favorite Undertaker moments, though.
yeah, that's a top five Raw moment probably for anybody. And I'm sure that if they do a top 100 list, which they probably already have, that's got to be top five. And that character was just so dark and ominous, but yet it came off as almost a little cartoony at times, and then it just got all the air sucked out of it as soon as they joined Vince.
Oh yeah. Tell you what, obviously Undertaker's had some amazing matches. Now, I personally feel that there's quite a few bad Undertaker matches out there, and people tend not to talk about them, or when they do, they blame it on other guys or the
Oh, I want to
storyline.
talk about one.
Go for it.
I haven't. I have an Undertaker confession, which most people will probably not like. His Hell in a Cell match with Mick Foley is the most overrated match in wrestling history.
I'm
That
glad
match
that's on
is
your list.
fucking, that is fucking dog shit.
As a match,
It
it's
has,
awful. It's a spot fest
yeah,
at most.
it has three or four good spots in it. My favorite of which is Terry Funk's shoe just being left there in the ring. That's my favorite moment of the whole match. Just seeing Terry Funk's shoes. But other than that, it's a half hour with 5 minutes of action in it. It's a terrible match. It just so overblown. It's the most overrated thing I've ever seen. But
Flair.
watching
Oh,
it
that's
live though,
incredible.
it it was absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, it was complete. Just every other word out of your mouth is holy shit. It just a legit holy shit because we'd never seen anything like that before. But yeah, it's been totally blown out of proportion at this point.
Flair Taker WrestleMania, I hated it. Um, the best bit about it was seeing Arn Anderson hit that massive spine buster yet again. Like easily the
Oh,
highlight of the
that's the
match.
Arn Anderson had that spine buster built up for 8 years.
It
It
was
it
amazing.
he's just that old fighter that when I can't fight anymore, but I got one punch left in me. And he held it for that night. And just the camera work on that made it that much better. Because you don't even see him slide into the ring. You just see Taker come bouncing off the ropes and then wham! He's put through the mat basically by the best spine buster you have ever seen.
It's absolutely incredible. That was probably the saving grace of the match. Another bad
I
one I
kind of like
was
that match though.
Punjabi prison matches. Who thought it would be fun to let Undertaker do more of these matches than the Great Khali? Like, Undertaker did more of these matches than Khali did. That's not a good
Well, it's
sign.
just like it's like having the Hell in a Cell. They say that that's Undertaker's match, but Triple H has done 100 of them. So,
Yeah, but
um,
buried
yeah,
alive with Undertaker
Punjabi
match.
Prison. That's the word. Those are the worst matches I've ever seen. The Punjabi Prison. They're just terrible. I mean,
No,
there's nothing about them that works.
those are the worst matches you've ever seen. Um, Kennel from Hell.
Well, I mean, like if you like to see dogs poop, that's
Um,
fun.
was it the Chamber of Horrors match?
Hold on.
Oh,
Hold
yeah, it's
on. That
awful.
match wasn't as bad.
Oh, it's
That
so
match is not
bad.
as bad.
So
It's not
bad.
as bad as we are led to believe. We reviewed
Oh,
that on Wrestling Buddies. Cheap
oh, it
plug.
was so bad.
Um, no, it's not as bad as you think it is. I mean, the worst part is that it's a little hokey there at the end, and the on and off switch kind of falls down
Oh, yeah.
repeatedly, and the referee has to. But the actual in ring, and when you look at the star power in the match, it actually isn't bad.
The
So
star
yeah,
power in a
that's a
match.
misnomer right there.
No, star power in a match doesn't equate to it. I mean, like I've just said,
It's not
Taker
bad.
versus Flair. Like, that is
It's not
star
bad.
power. Oh, that's so bad.
It's not bad.
Um, one of my favorite Taker matches has got to be Jeff Hardy versus Undertaker for the undisputed title in the ladder match. Possibly one of
Oh,
the
on Raw.
possibly one of the greatest
Yes.
storytelling matches of all time. Um,
Yes.
it got
And
Hardy
Jim
over.
Ross makes that match.
Oh yeah, climb the ladder, kid, make yourself famous.
Yes. Oh my God, I just got chills. Just you saying that and me thinking about that. Yeah, it just gave me chills.
It's such a good match, and the fact that he
Yep.
comes back at the end of the match and he hurts Hardy once, and then goes to leave again, and Hardy stands and says, "You haven't broke me yet. You haven't broke me, Taker." And he comes back and he pauses and just raises his hand. Like watching that is incredible. Like
That's how you
rarely
put
do you
somebody
get,
over.
yeah, rarely do you get to see Undertaker do something like that.
Right. And that's what made it that much bigger. Is if Taker's gonna put you over, you better take the ball and run with it. He's not gonna do that for everybody. So yeah, that's easily a top. That's one of my favorite Raw matches. I mean, it's so funny that the Undertaker's been involved in so many of my favorite wrestling memories, even though I would never call him one of my favorite wrestlers.
Yeah, it's funny.
You know,
Like I say, he's so good, but I wouldn't put him in my top 10 wrestlers.
no, but if I'm making a Mount Rushmore, he's on. He's in the conversation. So
Oh,
that says a
he's the
lot.
Lincoln easily. Like
And it even what makes him work is that the constant evolution of his character. What started off as something goofy, he's always constantly tweaked here and there to keep it fresh, which is not something that everyone's going to do. So I mean, big credit to him. I mean, to just do little tweaks here and there, just to keep it fresh. Which not, how many guys do that nowadays? John Cena hasn't. Kofi Kingston hasn't. Um,
hey,
you know, I'm just saying. About the only guy I can really think of that's kind of reinvented himself. Not entirely, but little tweaks. Kane and
Triple H.
to a lesser degree, Triple H kind of. Well, yeah, he went from Blue Blood to Terminator.
Yeah,
And
he's gone
Randy
blue
Orton,
blood to jackass to Terminator to corporate stooge.
yeah, I'm the toughest guy in the world. How the fuck did that happen? And Randy Orton even a little bit Orton has. So which is on a little bit more of a subtle level, but
Ooh, got
yeah,
two contenders for worst Undertaker matches, both of which are
let's hear
WrestleMania
it.
matches. Taker
Oh,
versus Snuka at WrestleMania 7 was terrible. Snuka flops
yep,
around like an idiot taking bumps.
yep,
Worst match of Undertaker's career, WrestleMania 9 versus Giant Gonzalez.
yep.
He won
Yeah,
that
it's
match by
bad.
DQ. Remember that.
Yes. Yeah, I mean the streak almost never happened. Yeah, think about that. He almost didn't have a streak because of some 7'6" uh, Bigfoot with spray painted ass cheeks. Yeah, and
Everyone loves
strategically
a good
placed
spray
hair.
paint. Oh, very strategically placed.
But the only things about that match that worked was his entrance, which looked so fucking cool. And yes, it was in the daytime, and it still worked.
How did that happen?
So that
Oh
was
no.
awesome. Yeah, I know. Who would think that Undertaker entrance with the lights on would work? And it did, and it was so cool. And then after the match, after he got chloroformed and everything, he still manages to come back and throw an ass whooping on. And it's one of the few times that you'll see somebody just be, just that much bigger than him. That was one of the cooler parts of that match is just seeing him have to look up at somebody. So that's pretty cool. But
And
yeah,
he
that's the only
doesn't even
saving
look
grace.
up a little bit. He looks up like a good 9 inches.
Oh, it's like it'd be like me looking at you.
That's exactly what it would be like, actually. Wow. Do
Yeah.
you know what? Halloween. Let's do this. That sounds like
Okay.
good costumes.
I'll be Undertaker, I guess.
You kidding me? I
But
was.
he's had some shit matches at WrestleMania. I mean, everyone thinks that that's where he shines, but I mean, his Mark Henry match that wasn't good, and I'm a Mark Henry guy. He had the handicap tag that stunk. The match with King Kong Bundy that was shit. Sid Vicious that stunk. So I mean, yeah, he's not always been a big hit there at Mania. It's only been I'd say the last decade or so. Which is funny to say,
Yeah,
last decade he's been awesome.
yeah. Since 17, but after 17, that's when it became like a big deal.
Um, which one was that? Was that Flair or
Se-
Triple H?
17 was Triple H, but it was after Triple H it became a big deal.
Right. Yeah, that's when they really started to make the streak a thing.
20s when it became important because that's when he came back and faced Kane as the Deadman.
That was awesome.
Yeah, which was very reminiscent of this year. He even came out in the
Yes, it
same
was.
hat and jacket.
Yep. Yeah, and we never saw him. We didn't see him in that build leading up to it. just like this year. So, I mean, yeah, there wasn't a big worry. And just the opening seconds of that match are just so memorable. The match stinks, but when you have Kane closing his eyes and just walking towards him, just saying that he's not real and that type of thing, it's awesome.
Like, do you know? The more I think about it, the more I'm like, that is possibly the best pairing of all time in wrestling, Kane and Taker. Like,
They're gonna be linked together forever.
yeah, and they work so well off each other, and that's the important thing.
And they even worked well together. I mean, the Brothers of Destruction, how cool of a tag team was that?
It was an amazing tag team. I honestly wish they could have had like a more substantial run, but they do work better as solo stars due to it.
Right.
Like
And they had cool music too. So
anything with Kid Rock and it's cool music by my standards. I'm good. I'm fine with that.
Taker's always had good music.
He has. I think after going through 39 of his themes in the last year, I'm um I'm almost ready to kill Jim Johnson for using Chopin as inspiration, and then me having to discuss this. But his theme music is great. Just that funeral march to begin with is one of the most impactful wrestling themes ever. It also gives you the idea that something bad has happened, or something bad is about to happen. Like
Yeah,
at
you know
one
by
point,
that music, even if you don't know the character, you hear that music, and you already have thoughts in your head. You're already going, "Oh shit, who the
yeah,
fuck is this guy?"
at what point is a funeral march a good sound to hear, you know? And even then they added the gong. The gong's so clever as well because it signifies that's who it is. In the same way that Austin's
Yes,
glass signifies it's him. When you start putting ideas into people's heads as a wrestler, you've hooked people. They will eat out your hand
yes,
forever.
yep, brilliant.
Of course, then
It,
we've
it's just those subtle. It's just those subtle little things where consciously, you really don't think about them, but you hear that gong, and you already know what's coming. You're already popping.
yeah, and do you want to know the worst one about this? Honestly,
Yeah.
the worst like semiotic trait that they've added now with Undertaker is the fact that the tombstone can no longer be used by anyone else.
Which is smart because that's a dangerous move.
Uh,
Ask Steve Austin.
I mean, it's smart, but at the same time, it's like the next person who uses that move on television needs to be as impressive, or it makes the
Yeah,
whole
you better
move
be over.
look weak as hell.
Yeah, you better be fucking over to do that. I mean, but you know what though? But that's only in WWE terms. I mean, I see the Young Bucks doing the most insane tombstones you've ever seen every week. So it looks awesome.
I would love to think that in a few years' time, or even this year, if they are going down that route, if you want, no, God forbid, I'm going to say it again, if you want Sting versus Taker, which seeds have been planted apparently, um, if they want that, you give Sting a match, Survivor Series, just have him win with a tombstone and do the Undertaker pose. Like, I've always wondered why no one ever does this. Like, to me, if it's almost like calling his own bluff, beating someone with a move, showing that it's just a move. Anyone can do it. If it's going to be his last match, it's the perfect time to do it, you know?
You know who that would have been perfect for? CM Punk. Punk should have done that.
Hmm.
That just has him written all over it.
It
That would
would
have
be so
worked.
good, yeah.
Not that that match needed any more juice, because the build up to it sucked, but the unfortunate passing of Paul Bear, actually gave it something, but that the match delivered. But yeah, how that would have worked.
So let me
I could
ask.
have even seen Brock.
Oh, Brock would have been good. Let me ask though, does Undertaker survive without Paul Bearer?
No, not those early years. It doesn't happen. He doesn't make it. He doesn't get the title off Hogan a year into his WWF career without that mouthpiece, without Paul Bear.
Oh
Because he
man, that
was just as big of a part as,
do you,
he was half of the puzzle.
oh wow, how scary is that? If Roman Reigns had won the title this year at WrestleMania, would he have done that in the same amount of time as Undertaker?
No,
1 year into his career.
it wouldn't matter because Brock Lesnar did it months into his career. So
It did, but Brock was the guy that beat Taker.
yeah, I mean, but Brock went from debut. What was it, like the night after WrestleMania, to beating The Rock at SummerSlam. So
That's true, actually.
yeah, nobody's ever going to do that again. So
There's a lot of things Undertaker's done that no one will ever do again. The streak will never ever get close. No one can do that now.
I'm still sad that I wish they would have never done that. I wish they would have never broke it. Um, Especially looking at it now. I mean, to me, there's two guys that if you're going to do it, it should have been Randy Orton, or it should have been Bray Wyatt this year. I love Brock Lesnar. I'm a huge Lesnar mark, and I understand the point of doing it, but to me, his last match, if they kept it this long, his last match should have been losing the streak. Or they could have done it years ago with the Legend Killer gimmick. I just thought that lined up so well. I mean, that would have just catapulted Randy Orton into the stratosphere.
It would have, but Orton was untrustworthy.
Absolutely. Yeah, he couldn't have been. That would have been too much for him at that point.
Oh hell, he would have been so high on coke, he wouldn't have known what was going on. Like
He would have just been coke and shitting in bags all over the place.
coke and shit in bags while wearing a belt that said "I beat the streak."
No purse would have been safe.
Oh, I'm honestly surprised they haven't stooped that low to make a belt that says "I beat the streak."
Shit, he would have shit in an urn. That's what he would have done.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
What's in the urn? I shit in it.
Shit in the urn. Not tell anyone, but every time he opens it and the steam comes out, everyone knows.
Yep, that's what it
Oh,
was.
that's a horrible thought. Do you reckon anyone's ever done a rib like that just to annoy Taker and Paul Bearer? Like, put something in the urn
No,
knowing they were going to open it? Like, he seems like the type of guy that you just wouldn't want to do a rib with, you know? So, guys, we have come to the final part of our show. We obviously this week have decided we would do the special for you. If there is a special that you'd like to hear us talk about, maybe it's a specific wrestler, maybe it's a match type, maybe it's even a company, let us know. Best way to do that would be through our app. That way we get it direct to us, and we'll make sure that we get that to our emails, to our phones, rather than a tweet that we might miss going through our selections. Um, Please, if you've enjoyed tonight, feel free to like, subscribe, or even share the video with a friend. That would be amazing. Um, and as always, you can tune in with the Ringside Ramblers. You can tune in with Minds of Carnage. And of course, don't forget the girls at Just Saying as well. By going through our app as well, you can get all of them in one place at one time for completely free. Don't mess up.
free,
Don't miss out. For free. Completely free. We have been
free.
free.
I came back for the end.
Just like Undertaker once a year, he came back. Guys,
That's right.
like I said, we've been the Levels of Wrestling. This has been Breakdown. Please feel free to tune in next week. And for tonight, we say goodbye.